State your belief too. Hey, Mr. Conover, this is Streeter, and I'm here to prove to my mom that the Earth is in fact young and not billions of years old. Mom, do you believe in God?
Yes, I believe in God.
Truthfully, how old do you think the Earth is?
Truthfully, I believe the Earth is billions of years old.
Okay, Mom, do you take what the Bible says literally?
Yes, I do.
You do? Okay. Well, in the Bible, the genealogies from Adam on downwards lead to about 6,000 years worth of time since creation. What is it? And I'd like to present to you some facts that if you believe in the Bible and you believe that the Earth is
Billions of years old.
Yeah. If you believe that the Earth is billions of years old, basically the Bible disagrees with you on that. Could you read Genesis 1:3-5, that highlighted one right here?
Okay. And God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. God saw that the light was good, and he separated the light from the darkness. God called the light day, and the darkness he called night. And there was evening, and there was morning, the first day.
That last statement, verse 5, and there was evening and there was morning, the first day, and there's evening and there was morning, repeats every time throughout the 6 days of creation. And, what?
Go. And so,
Don't
well,
snap
here's
my
my feeling. My feeling is that, and my belief is literally from the Bible, and I believe that God created the earth in 7 days, in 6 days, and then the seventh day was the Sabbath, and that was a day that he presented to all of his followers that was a day of rest. So I believe that he created the earth billions and billions of years ago, and that when he did that, it was done in 6 days, and then the seventh day was a period of rest. And I believe that because when I read in Genesis, where did I find it? It said on Genesis 1 verse 9, and God said, "Let the waters under the heavens be gathered together into one place, and let the dry land appear." And it was so. And God called the dry land earth, and the waters that were gathered together he called the seas. And God saw that it was good. And God said, "Let the earth put forth vegetations and plants yielding seeds and fruits, bearing trees, in which the seed, each according to its own kind upon the earth." So when I read this, I feel in my heart that God created the earth billions of years ago. And he created it in 6 days, and then the seventh day was a rest. And so I think he created everything, but it was a long time ago.
On a side note, really quick, what do you think happened to the dinosaurs?
I don't know what happened to the dinosaurs. I'm kind of thinking I'm going to believe with the scientists on that an asteroid or something hit the earth.
How long ago?
I would say probably millions of years ago, maybe a billion years ago, that the dinosaurs inhabited the earth. I believe that the earth is about 2.5 billion years old. And according to the science that I've read, the sun in our solar system is supposed to be glowing for about 5 billion to 6 billion years. And then it's supposed to explode, and the earth will die with that explosion, if that's God's will. And so my feeling is the earth is about 2.5 billion years old right now is what I believe.
Going back to the dinosaurs, you believe they died millions of years ago, right?
Many millions of years ago, not like 1 million.
I said millions.
Yes.
Plural. Then explain to me really quickly how they found soft tissue in dinosaur bones when that stuff should have decomposed millions of years ago.
Well, I think that's kind of like mummification. It depends on how the dinosaurs were how they died and how they were buried. Like, for example, I want to say maybe 10 years ago, they found a mummied man in the ice caps somewhere in Europe. And they carbon dated him, and they found that this man was probably like, thousands of years old. And his skin was preserved because
Of the ice.
they found him in the ice.
This is rocks. And
Well, so then here's a fossil for you. And my feeling is, although a lot of these fossils that come out,
this
the
is
fossil,
sand. Minerals replace the actual bones in that.
that's what I was going to say. Minerals do that, but there could be an occasion where they might be able to find some type of an animal that would not be completely decomposed, depending on the area that was found. For example, maybe like the La Brea tar pits or something, although it's really hot and you'd think that the skin would be burned off. But I don't know. I don't necessarily think that. I think it would depend on, where the animal was buried and what type of an environment, if it was a moist environment or not. But I think that millions of years old,
Faster.
anything would decompose. So, yeah.
According to what we know about soft tissue and whatnot, that shouldn't be possible. There's still red blood cells in there, and those should have decomposed long ago. Same with their DNA.
Should have. But there's a lot of things on this earth we don't know. When you go in the oceans, there's animals we don't know about that are deep, deep, deep under the ocean floor. And in the rainforest, there's animals and bugs and beetles that we haven't even discovered yet. So I think that there are miracles that go on in the world, and there are animals that we don't know about. And is there, by chance, some possibility that somehow some dinosaur was preserved in a way where they were able to get some type of DNA carbon dating out of it? Sure, I think they could.
These were found in like Minnesota, the Badlands, South Dakota.
No, but I know that when we've been to Wyoming in the summertime, we've looked at dinosaur bones in the ground, and although they're rock, usually they look like a
Not even
rock,
recognizable.
just like these. I think that it would be, okay, that something might happen. I mean, most fossils, when you look at them, look as hard as a rock, and they are, because the actual
They are
animal
rocks.
is gone, so they're gone. They've turned to rock. But it depends on how it was preserved, in my mind. But going back to this, I really believe with the Bible that this is the case, that the Earth is billions of years old.
Okay. Well, going back to my original point, according to what you read in Genesis 3-5, back to there was evening and there was morning the first day. If you believe, it's verse 5.
Yeah, I see it.
If you believe that the earth is billions of years old, oh, you're kind of weird. No offense. You believe that God did it in 24-hour period days,
Yes.
except billions of years ago.
Yes.
Okay, well, from this biblical standpoint, according to the day-age theory, which is that each day represents a long period of time, like millions or billions of years. Okay, basically it says there's evening and morning the first day, and a 24-hour period day is 12 hours of light, 12 hours of darkness. If this day were to mean a long time like that, then that would have to mean, for example, let's say each day represented 1 million years, just for
Okay.
example's sake. That would mean that in order for there to be evening and morning the first day, 1 million years day, that would have to mean logically 500,000 years of light and 500,000 years of darkness. That doesn't make sense.
If you believe in that.
You believe what the Bible says, right?
I believe what the Bible says, but I think that God created the earth in 6 days and the seventh day was rest. I don't see anywhere in the Bible where the God says this day is 1 million years.
He doesn't, and that's great, but the earth is 6,000 years old.
And then when I look at the Grand Canyon, because I'm a teacher and we study that, I know that when they do carbon dating and they can look at the walls of the canyon and how deep the canyon goes, a lot of the scientists can prove in the layers of the canyon by the way the dirt has been, the dust storms and the shells that they find and things like that in each layer. I think that they have discovered that the earth through that has layers that date back to 1 billion years.
Do you believe in the flood?
I believe in the flood because I've seen and read about shells being found at the top of Mount Everest and things to that nature where normally they wouldn't be there, like the top of Mount, where Noah's Ark was discovered years ago. They found seashells up there and they're like, well, why would they be there? You can find seashells in the middle of a desert and you think, how are they there? So yes, I believe in the flood because it has been proven in my mind by science also that they have found ocean life, although it's dead, in places where there's no ocean now. And if you fly in an airplane and you look down upon the earth, you can almost see the way that the water ran.
Off. Now the Grand Canyon, geologists found evidence of a giant lake, which happens to be right above the head of the Grand Canyon.
Mm-hmm.
This lake, according to geologists, was around about
1 billion years old.
No. Whenever, I don't know exactly how many years after creation Noah was made. Like 1,000 or 2,000. Oh yeah, okay. That lake existed, coincidentally, about 4,000 years ago, which is about the time the flood left the earth and Noah was around. That lake burst, and all that water just, it came down and it carved the canyon out in a matter of a few days. There's many examples of this. There's this one canyon in Washington. I don't know exactly what its name is, but there was a little river running through there.
Right.
They dammed it up. The dam broke, and it created this whole new canyon. It's a few hundred feet deep, and it all happened in 6 days. I don't know.
I can believe that because of the power of water, but just because there's a lake that broke, I don't see the connection between the ocean and the Colorado River still flows today.
Flooded with water.
Right.
The Colorado River could have been coming into that lake as an inlet.
Okay.
And there was no outlet or something like that. But the flood covering the whole earth, the waters start to recede, land comes up, a lot of the water gets trapped, and it's... I don't know.
Something's got to give. So I see that the water flows, but how does that tie into the earth being what you said, which is 500,000 years old instead of billions of years old?
It's just proving that the Grand Canyon doesn't take billions of years to form. It could happen in a matter of weeks.
I would agree with you, but not 2 miles deep. Some portions of the Grand Canyon are 2 miles deep. I can see a portion of a river being formed quickly by erosion. We have a ranch that we live at, and when we get bad rainstorms, we can see entire ditches created and we have to fill them in with the tractor. So I can see that possibility, but not 2 miles deep.
Well, this is
I think the continual flow of water in the Grand Canyon.
Huge.
I understand that, but I think a continual flow of water in the Grand Canyon is what has carved the canyon walls to be so deep. The breaking of a lake, in my opinion, could cause definitely the creation of a path for the Colorado River to flow, but it's not going to cause it to be 2 miles deep in one whack. I don't see that. The continual flow of the Colorado River, I think, would carve the deepness of the Grand Canyon.
One more off before we get past. If you look at the geography of the beginning of the Grand Canyon to the end,
yes,
it's actually going uphill. Could you explain to me how the water would break that principle? Hang on, what am I trying to say? Ignore that, I don't know how to defend that. Because I don't know how my theory would react to that either.
Because your first word was, it appears to be flowing uphill.
Okay, going back to my things.
Appears to be doesn't mean it is.
Okay.
Sorry, but appears to be is not
Okay.
actually doing.
According to the Bible, okay, I got my other verse right here.
Okay.
Could you please read Genesis 11 through 13?
Okay, 11 through
Genesis
13.
1, 11 through 13.
Okay, then God said, "Let the land produce vegetation, seed-bearing plants and trees on the land that bear fruit with seed in it, according to their various kinds." And it was so. The land produced vegetation, plants bearing seeds according to their kinds, and trees bearing fruit with seed in it according to their kinds. And God saw that it was good. And there was an evening, and there was a morning, and the third day.
Okay, according to that, plants were around by the third day. If the day age theory were correct, and each day was, we'll say, 1,000,000 years long, for example's sake, that would equal 500,000 years of darkness and 500,000 years of light, according to the Hebrew word and the context that it's used in. Obviously, plants can't survive this. And could you read that one underlined section, please, in black?
It says, according to their various kinds.
That means there wasn't some special pre-plant, some common ancestor of the plants. It means that each plant was created as it is. And plants as we know today
Yeah.
can't survive 500,000 years without light, right?
I disagree with you.
Please explain.
I disagree with you because I have a pasture with 5 horses in it, and those darn weeds will stay in there for 40 years. I was talking to a hay farmer just the other day, and they said the germination of those little seeds sometimes will be in there for 40 years. So, if I let that pasture go like I did 1 year and it's been 5 years just to try to kill that same weed, and I can see the weed still growing, then I believe it depends on the plant. Some plants can lay in germination for the right time. I've seen on TV, hibernation for the right time. I've seen on TV where there are frogs that live in the desert, in the sand, for years until it rains, and then they come out. How can that be?
Their metabolism shuts down. They got a chemical that runs through their system.
Right. So my belief for this is that I think that God could have created these different kinds of plants, and I believe depending upon the place where the plants were buried, and once again the environmental factors where the seeds are deposited, they could possibly stay there. Another example for me is like the pine tree. A lot of the pine trees have resin on them, and they can sit in the ground and sit on those pine trees forever. And the seeds will never germinate until a fire comes. And then all of a sudden those seeds pop open. And then a new tree will grow. So I think that God's created unique types of plants that might possibly be able to stay for billions of years.
Okay, well, this point, according to their own kinds, whatever we just talked about is going to come back towards the end.
Okay.
But as of right now, ignoring that, plants as we know, can a living plant survive for 500,000 years?
A living plant could not survive for 500,000 years unless it's some unique weed.
There's no dark weeds, Mom. Okay. And you don't really believe in evolution, but I'm going to present it anyways.
Okay.
See what you think about this. If the Earth was around for millions of years, and animals and Adam evolved from an ape or some kind of mammal, according to evolution, the gist of it is survival of the fittest, which means death. But according to the Bible, there was no death before Adam because Adam and Eve sinned. Yeah, it brought sin into the world, and sin brought death into the world. Therefore, there could be no evolution before Adam and Eve because that would require that the animals... It's embarrassing.
The animals what?
The animals that the animals would die before because survival of the fittest?
I don't know, because survival of the fittest, in my mind, from what I've learned from reading books and watching TV, is that the fittest survive, which creates a strong genealogical pull, so that that type of an animal will be able to live longer and be stronger than another type of animal that would be killed off.
Exactly, killed off. Dead.
So my feeling is that
Death was not in the world before sin. Death couldn't be in the world.
I would
before
agree
sin.
with you on that. Yes, because Adam and Eve sinned.
And
But their
then
sins-
started to die.
Well, yes and no, because the first sin for Eve, in my mind, was having pain during childbirth.
That came because of eating the fruit.
Right. And then
That's
obviously
after
the
sin.
embarrassment where they had to put on clothing, and they didn't have clothes back then,
That's
but the
all
leaves
after
and stuff
they
like that.
sinned by eating the fruit.
Right. I don't recall death being part of that.
It was introduced into the world. Basically, God said after they ate the fruit, that if they were to eat from it again, they'd know too much and they'd be like God.
Mm-hmm.
And therefore, man's days will be numbered, equaling he's no longer eternal on this earth. He's got a limited amount of time to enjoy his stay.
Yes, like the dinosaurs.
Planet Earth. Exactly. All after sin.
Well, who sinned in the dinosaurs then? Because they're just an animal. I think an asteroid hit the
As
Earth.
soon as Adam and Eve sinned, death was brought into the world. The whole earth was cursed because of what they did.
Okay.
I'm just presenting that to you because you don't really believe in evolution to begin with.
Right.
But, okay, now back to the plants.
Okay.
According to the Bible, as you read back in Genesis 1:11 through 13. That's good.
Okay, go.
That's good.
Stop saying,
Okay, according to that, okay, I guess I could edit that out in Sniff's class tomorrow. Okay, so according to Genesis 1:11 through 13, plants were created on the third day, as you read right there, right?
I read that plants are created on the third day.
Okay, according to their various kinds, right?
Yep.
No evolution involved. In Genesis 1, where is it? 20 through 25. It's a bit too long to have you read on this. But on the fifth day, birds and fish were created, and on the sixth day, land animals were created, all according to their various kinds.
Yes, I see that.
Underlined right there.
Yeah.
How could the plants that we see here today, all created according to the various kinds, no evolution, which means their seed depositing methods, everything they do now is what they did since the first ones. How could they survive, taking the day-age theory into account, which would mean millions, if not billions of years between the third day and the fifth and sixth days?
Because I think plants, like any other living creature.
Hang on, let me finish my point.
Okay.
Okay. How could the plants, that would be like millions, if not billions of years gap between them. Explain to me how the plants that depend on these birds, fish, and land animals, to spread their seeds, still be around by the time that these were created.
Well, because the seeds are spread, more plants grow.
But
The animals eat them, the seeds are spread,
No,
more
no.
plants grow.
But these plants were created according to the day-age theory, which means that each day stands for an era. That would be millions, if not billions of years from the third day to the fifth and sixth day. The plants that were created then would have to survive millions, if not billions of years before the animals that they depend on showed up to spread their seeds.
And that's great, because the plants needed to grow so the animals could have
No.
survived.
But that's millions of years. These plants wouldn't have survived that long.
I think they
They
would
don't
have, because the
now.
earth is like a little greenhouse in the universe. And so what happens is nobody's eating them, nobody's doing anything with them, they're growing, they're dropping their seeds, they're growing, they're dropping their seeds, they can overtake the world if we needed them to.
They can't overtake
So what
the world.
happens is they can change and evolve plants to be, again, more strong, to have more stronger seeds, to have seeds that would last longer. So yes, I believe that plants could have survived for billions of years just by, changing certain ways and certain ways that they would grow, certain environments that they might grow in. The wind can blow them certain places, and things like
Yes.
that. The seeds. So I think that the plants could have the plants' seeds conceivably could have still been around for a billion years.
Let me give you an example from today.
Okay.
Are you aware of the dodo bird?
Yes.
Are
There
you
are none.
aware that they're extinct?
Yes.
Are you aware that they lived on islands?
Yes.
Hey, push pause.
And
Wow.
are you aware
Red
that
button.
they ate the fruit
That's the stuff.
from these certain
Stop
trees,
Mm-hmm.
and their stomachs
Right.
digested the hard
Streeter,
seed
stop
coat?
saying He's on pause.
Dad.
He's got to pause.
Okay, so basically the dodo birds that eat the seeds from this tree. It's this giant tree, and it would digest the hard seed coat and then poop it out, and then a new tree would grow. Ever since the dodo bird went extinct, they haven't found any saplings of these trees, and they're just becoming fewer and fewer each year as the surviving ones die off.
Well, but I also have found in watching and
is-
reading science articles that they are discovering animals that have supposed to have been extinct for years, and all of a sudden, miraculously, they've shown up.
They haven't found. Okay, these birds,
And they say, "Wow, we found a little pod of 5 of these unique animals in this place in the world, and they were supposed to be extinct, and nobody's going to touch them in the environment." So I don't necessarily believe that plant might be extinct. It might be extinct in that area, but I believe that the seeds could have traveled anywhere throughout the world.
These plants are native to these islands. These dodo birds are native to these islands. White man came, wiped out the dodo birds because they were easy meat.
I understand
No
that.
more of these trees. They don't exist on the mainland. They don't exist anywhere. They've looked for the tree.
But there are certain animals now that can swim across oceans and rivers and go to a new place. And they say, how
Nothing
can this
else.
snake that was supposed to be from New Zealand be found in Mexico? Sometimes they travel on a log. Sometimes they just travel, on a ship. Sometimes they just swim. It's unique, odd things. I
We're
think
not-
God creates miracles in their own way.
Yeah, we're not discussing the dodo bird. We're discussing the trees.
Yes,
With the
but I'm
absence
telling you
of
that-
these birds on the island, there have been no more new trees.
I understand that. Maybe not on those islands, but that doesn't mean that a
Trees
dodo
don't
bird...
exist anywhere else.
But that doesn't mean that there is one of those trees somewhere in the world that they haven't looked for, and maybe if they've been looking, they haven't found it.
I don't get
So-
it.
so
The
I
trees
still-
don't exist anywhere else. They exist on these islands.
That's not true. They might exist somewhere else on a very compatible island in another part of the world, and maybe they just haven't found them yet.
Like where?
I don't know. I haven't found them, but my feeling is, they could exist somewhere.
Out of battery. This interview's over.
Darn. Okay. Well, that's some of the good stuff.